Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be playing NATO Air Commander, Solitaire Strategic Air Command in World War III. This is designed by Brad Smith and published by Hollandspiele. This game was released in 2018, and as it says, it is a solitaire game. Basically, your role is commanding the air forces of the various NATO nations as they try to slow down and halt an invasion by the Warsaw Pact forces in a hypothetical, didn't happen, 1987 World War III. So the game basically, the map here, it has a couple of areas. So you have the main map where all the these are ground forces, okay? So these are representations of the armies. There are 6 thrust lines, 1, 2, and they're using the NATO alphabet. So you have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, and Foxtrot down here at the bottom. This is Foxtrot. So the red is obviously the Warsaw Pact. The blue is NATO forces. At the top here, you can see there's an Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. These cards that are somewhat off camera, those cards each will be used for reinforcements to the Warsaw Pact forces. NATO also gets reinforcements. So to some extent, that's dependent upon cards. This is a diceless game. Everything happens pretty much using these resolution cards. And you also have objective cards that will give you kind of a mission from one of the various area commanders. Could be Northag, Centag, etc., making requests for what they would like your air forces to do that turn. The game is 10 turns long. We have a victory point track here for the Warsaw Pact. If they get, I believe it is 14 or more, they win. If it's less than 14, NATO wins. So over here on the left side, we have 9 raid areas plus 3 specialty raid areas. We have the OCA, which is offensive counter-air. You're trying to basically destroy the enemy's air force. Not necessarily through air-to-air combat, but probably more like hitting their air bases. Decap, which is a decapitation strike. It's a strike on a headquarters. Dead is the destruction of enemy air defenses, I believe is what that stands for. Then we have, this is our current air force. The various colors are the various countries. Blue is the US. Tan is the UK. No, gold is Germany, yellow is the Netherlands. No, yellow is Belgium. Orange is the Netherlands, and red is Canada. And they all represent different types of aircraft based on their silhouettes. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then at the bottom, we have various tracks. Here's our game turn track, resource point track. So you spend resource points to do things like repair your damaged aircraft, by precision guided munitions, which is the PGM track. This scenario, there's 3 scenarios in the game of increasing difficulty. We're going to play the basic scenario. We're going to start with 5 precision guided munitions, which double your strike rating. And I'll talk about that in a moment. Then we have our DEAD track, our dead track, which again is the destruction of enemy air defenses. As it goes up, that's basically a modifier that will impact the numbers we get off our cards, which is how the game results. So all the combat is off the cards. So all your results come off the cards. And then our OCA track is the similar thing where it's offensive counter-air. As we move up, this will impact how effective the Warsaw Pact forces are. So both of these basically make you stronger. This is basically the currency of the game that you use to buy things. This is one of the items that you would be buying. These cost 3 RPs a piece, I believe. And then, of course, you have your 10 turns. You may end up resigning early, depending on how you're doing, etc., etc. There are also recon missions. That's the first part, the first step of the turn sequence. And that would give you possibly battlefield surveillance where you can you can either replace or ignore an event card. We'll talk about that as well. And then if you get an event card that takes effect the next turn, you can put it in this spot right here at the bottom as well. You can see the various, this chart here will tell you what each mission does. So air escort will, and that's here as part of one of your raids. You have an air escort box, a primary box, and a suppression of enemy air defenses, SEAD. So again, air intercept versus air, that's your escort. The SEAD is ground defense versus ground attack. Close air support is ground attack. The DEAD is a strike. OCA is a strike. DCAP's a strike. The FA is a ground attack. And then ground combat that's when we'll resolve each track will get resolved individually, comparing the strengths of the two forces with a modifier provided by the card. So I'm going to go through all the steps of a turn. We'll see how many turns we can get through. I don't want to make the video super long, but I do want to give you an idea of how the game plays. I think this is a really, really clever system, and Brad did a really good job of coming up with this. This is it's actually a lot of fun. So we will get started here in a moment. Okay, so this is the look I'm going to probably keep in terms of what we're seeing on the board. It covers most of the area. It's a little hard to get it to where you can see everything and also have it not be tiny. So hopefully this works for you. I can show the tracks here at the bottom if necessary, and anything that might be going on along the bottom. But you can see all the ground forces, and you can see the edges of the cards for each track, as well as all the raid boxes and my aircraft pool, etc. So the first thing you do to start a turn is draw 2 objective cards. We're going to take top two cards here. I already shuffled everything. Flip it over. And so you get a BAOR, that's the British Army of the Rhine, counterattacks. And it says, Commander North Ag requests 3 close air support hits in Sector Bravo. So Sector Bravo is our second sector here. So it's this guy. So this is North Ag right here, which was the British sector of West Germany. So we will keep that there. The second card is this guy, West German 2 Corps, counterattacks. So Commander Centag requests 2 close air support hits in Sector Echo. So Echo is this guy all the way right here, next to last, next to the most southern one. Foxtrot's actually Austria, but Echo is in southern Germany. And the West German 2 Corps, or II Corps, is part of Centag, which was also where the bulk of the U.S. Army forces in West Germany were located. So those are our objectives. So we want to get 3 close air support hits in Bravo, and we want to get 2 close air support hits in Echo. That's actually fairly manageable, shouldn't be overly difficult. And so if you actually achieve that, we would get 3 resource points. This is for the BAOR. 3 resource points and a 1 Warsaw Pact retreat in Sector Bravo. So basically they move along the tracks, right? So let's say Bravo, here's Bravo. The first city that they would come to is Hanover. So if they manage to bump and destroy our NATO army here in Hanover, they would take Hanover, and that would be worth 2 victory points to them, and their victory track would move down to 2. But with this card, if I'm successful, if they do take Hanover, I can push them back. And if they're in their start position and they have to retreat, they actually have to take a step loss. So it's to your benefit to achieve your objectives. Obviously, if you fail, you lose 2 resource points. Same thing for our other objective here. We get 2 resource points if we get 2 hits in Echo. We could also make them retreat or take a step loss. And if we don't do it, we lose 2 RPs. Now your RPs over here, they're a little bit off camera, but here's the counter for it. And it has a negative side. So you can go negative. You don't want to go negative, but you can go negative. All right, so that's our objectives. Second step is your recon phase. Now, the way the recon phase works is you have 3 possible things you can do. You can do what's called battlefield surveillance, And so this is basically an attempt to see what enemy intentions are. And you can only do it once per turn. Okay? And so if you actually are successful, you would reveal the next card from the resolution deck. And then you can place it in the bottom where I showed you before, down at the bottom of the game board, there's a surveillance event card. So you know what the next card will be. And you can either keep it and resolve the event at the end of the turn, or at the event phase, which is at the end of the turn, or you can put it to the bottom of the deck. So you basically get to decide if you want to use it or not. So that's the battlefield surveillance. The other options, the second option is locate headquarters. That enables you to do the decap strike. So, and those you can do as over and over again, as often as you want to. And then the third type is your locate staging areas, which will impact reinforcements for each of these sectors. And you can only do that once as well. Now, you can do, these don't use your aircraft. You get basically like satellite reconnaissance, kind of like a pool of resources that you use for this reconnaissance. And basically, anything a 6 or higher will be a failure, and anything 5 or lower will be a success. And the way you resolve that, again, is with the resolution cards, and you use the topmost number, which I believe is the air support number or air offense number, something like that. So what I'll do first is I want to try to do the decap. I want to try to do the headquarters. So basically what we do is we take our resolution card deck here, and I say, okay, I want to do a decap. So we just take the deck, flip the top card, and it's the air intercept value at the top. You can see that's an 8. Yep, there it is, an 8. That's a fail. And once you fail a recon mission, the recon phase is over. So that was a kind of an epic fail because I didn't get anything accomplished, unfortunately for me. So then you would move on to the next phase, which is your air planning phase. So this is basically the core of the game as far as determining how you're going to do, because you're going to decide what raids you're going to perform and assign assets to it, assign various aircraft, squadrons, I guess, to them, and have them perform, perform the raids that will support the war effort here in Germany. So we know our objectives. We need to get 3 close air support hits in Bravo and 2 in Echo. So obviously 2 of the raids we're going to do will be designed to take care of that. I'd also like to do an OCA raid and maybe a DEAD raid as well. So these are the aircraft I have to work with. Now you have to talk about what the aircraft capabilities are, and those are laid out on the counters themselves. So to talk about that, I'm going to use this counter here. Okay, so this is an F-15. This was the jet I worked on when I was in the Air Force. And so the 3 numbers at the bottom. So the 8 on the left is its air rating. So that's air to air. This was, obviously, if you know about the F-15, it was an air superiority fighter. The Strike Eagle came later, which was the ground attack version, but the main, the F-15A, B, C, D, they were all, the B and the D were trainers, but the A and C were air superiority fighters. So the middle rating is its ground rating, so that's its air-to-ground rating. So this was not a ground attack aircraft, therefore you're not surprised to see a 0 there. And the 1 is its strike rating. So again, strike rating is 1. It's not a strike aircraft. This was pre-Strike Eagle days. That Strike Eagle came along not very much longer after that, but in 1987 we didn't have any Strike Eagles in Germany, as far as I know. Anyway, so you have some that are, their roles will be dictated by their ratings to some extent. Here's an F-117. the original stealth fighter. Air-to-air is 0, 1 for air-to-ground, and 6 for strike. If you fly these guys by themselves, they cannot be intercepted by enemy aircraft, and you draw a card, I believe, to determine whether or not they can be picked up by by ground defenses like surface-to-air missiles, etc. And they do have a 6 for their strike rating, which is nice. So to plan your raid, you have to choose aircraft that fill the role that you want to actually get done. So you have limits as well. You can put no more than 5 total on a strike. No more than 3 can be in the primary, and no more than 2 in either of the air escort or air defense suppression. So you want to put a strike aircraft pretty much in here, and then put an air superiority aircraft in here, and then put something that has air defense strike capability in here as well, or ground attack rather. So basically, if we were to take, let's take our Canadian F-18 here, the CF-18, the Canadian version of the F-18 Hornet. You put that in the primary. That's our, actually no, we're going to put that in our air escort because it has the best air rating. Then if we wanted to say we were going to hit it with the good old A-10 Warthog, put that sucker in the primary because it's going to use its, actually no, it would go in here because it's going to use its ground attack rating. And then for the strike, you want something that can do a strike. So maybe we take our Dutch F-16 here, and we put that there because it has a 5 for, oh wait, no. See, I'm confusing myself here. We want the third number. So we take our German Phantom. I believe this is a Phantom. If I can get it to zoom in. Yeah, that looks like a Phantom. So we have, you can mix and match. They don't all have to be the same nationality. So in this strike, we're going to have a 6 for the strike. We're going to have a 6 for air escort, and we're going to have a 7 for the air defense. So that would be raid number 1, and you put raid number 1 on here for now. And then once you assign it to a line of attack here, you can just put it like right here to show that raid 1 is on Bravo. And then we'll do raid 2, and raid 2 will be on Echo. And so we do the same thing. We'll put our F-117. We'll come and do a solo run. Actually, maybe I'll use him for down here. We'll do him for the OCA. And I'll probably resolve this one first, because if you move your OCA track up, and you can't see it, but the OCA track runs from 0 to 7. And there's a couple duplicates. The 1s are duplicated and the 2s are duplicated. So you have to actually do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to 3. But that's a modifier that will impact the air defense, the anti-air, the air-to-air, basically, for the Warsaw Pact forces. So we're trying to degrade their air capability. So we'll have the F-117, the stealth fighter here. We'll do our OCA. And then, so that's offensive counter-air. So we're going to try to take out maybe some airfields, etc., some of their support for their aircraft. And then for raid 2, we need to do kind of the same thing here. So we want an aircraft with a good middle number in our a good right side number rather. So let's see. I've doubled them up, so we can take our German F-111, or not my one F-111, the Tornado. Put that there for escort, for its anti-air rating, and then we're kind of in no man's land. This is a Harrier. This is a British Harrier. We'll use that for our strike, and then for the air defenses, we'll use our F-111. actually backwards, like that. And so I still have more aircraft I can use here. So you get the idea of how you build your raids. Okay, so here's our strikes set up. So here's strike 1, which will be hitting area Bravo. And I've zoomed in so you can't see it, but Bravo is obviously the second track, the one that's going towards Hanover. So I'm using precision guided munitions, which will actually double the strike value of my aircraft. So this 7 will become a 14. So if I can get there, I can do multiple damages, get my 3 hits, and succeed at that leg of the mission. As you can see, I have 5 aircraft, 2 in the primary, 2 in the air support, 2 in the suppression of enemy air defenses. Then raid 2, which is the one in Echo, which is the one heading towards Regensburg. We have, again, precision guided munitions. I have 5, so I've spent 2. Here's our strike aircraft. It's got an 8. So with that, it's going to double. So that should get me 3 hits, which I only actually need 2, but I'll take the extra hit. And then for air support, we're going to have a 9 here, and we're going to have a 10, because you use strike is the far right, air is the far left, and ground for the suppression of enemy air defenses is the middle number. So we have a 7 here and a 10 here. Now down here for our OCA, because it's a stealth fighter, the F-117 gets special treatment, and we'll talk about that here in a second when I do resolution. But I'm also giving him PGM to double his 6 to a 12, because I want to do a couple points of damage to the OCA here, because that will actually make the air defenses here on the Warsaw Pact side less effective. That'll give us a positive modifier, well, a negative modifier for them. So it'll adjust down the number on the card and make it easier for our units to survive. Obviously, anytime you're talking about modern warfare, late 20th century through today, you're talking about battlefield survivability. Big deal. You want your units to live to fight another day. So we're going to try to take care of this. And the same thing with this, which is basically the ground equivalent of this. We're going to be hitting SAM sites and so on and so forth. So our destruction of enemy air defenses, no PGM on this one. But we do have 9 strike here. Should be good for, actually that's only going to be 1, but okay. But then we also have 10 for air defense. And this is a little bit shaky. Only a 4 for the ground attack. So that could be dangerous depending on what we draw on the card. So I'm going to draw my OCA first, and I'll probably do this one second, just to get them out of the way, so I'll have modifiers from these 2 that I can use from my primary strikes. So we're going to resolve this guy first. We're resolving this guy first. And what that means is, because it's a stealth fighter, it gets special treatment. So you flip 1 card, and you look at the air intercept and ground defense. If either of these are a 10, the F-117 is shot down. If it's not, it goes through and it does its strike. So it goes through and it does its strike. Now you don't need to draw a card for the strike. The way the strike works is you take the strike number, which is on the right, so it's a 6. It's got a precision guided munition, so it doubles to 12. You divide it by 5, round down, it's a 2. So then we're going to take our OCA track here at the bottom, and we're going to move it 2 to the right. So it's a 1, so we're going to subtract 1 from every air intercept until it goes further this way, hopefully. And the next thing we're going to do is this guy here, the destruction of enemy air defenses, with an eye towards moving this one to the right, which will impact the SEAD resolution. So you see, you're trying to degrade their capabilities to keep your guys alive, your pilots alive, your aircraft flying. So we resolved this one. I'm going to take this guy away because it's been expended. And so this one, I'm going to put him back in basing. That's a successful mission. We already moved our marker for OCA, so we move on to this one, the DEAD. So this guy, so first we draw for anti-air. We have 10 points. Draw a card, 0. So definitely successful. Now here's the dicey part. That's a 4. That is a 4. If I pull a card and the ground defense is anything higher than a 4, we're going to take a beating here. And it's a 3. So squeaks by, and we go to our strike resolution again. Now this time, we have 9. We have no precision munitions, so it's actually only going to be 1 point. So I'm just going to move my track over 1, which still is a 0. And again, I could have chosen to use a 4th here, which would have moved it 2 tracks. So kind of poor planning on my part. But all these planes successfully survive. They go back to the basing box. And we move on to our main event here. So up here we have our main strike. So again, we have precision guided munitions for both Raid 1 in Bravo and Raid 2 in Echo. We pull a card for air on the first one, and we get the shuffle card. So as you can see, this says shuffle all discards into the deck. The card counts as no event, and all of its resolution values are 0. So that's good in that we now pass this, but I have to shuffle my deck here. So I will do that, and we're back. So the air intercept passed. I'm just going to move these guys out. Now we're going to do our enemy air defenses, the suppression thereof by our A-10. Ground attack value is a 3. That's a pass. So our strike goes in. We have 7 doubled is 14, divided by 5 is 2. So I screwed that up because it should have been a number higher to get me 3. So I'm actually going to fail. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm going to fail that. I should have swapped these actually. This should be so yeah, I'm going to do that. We're going to say this went to Echo and this went to Bravo. Technically that's cheating, but that's just a math mistake on my part. So this will have 16 if it succeeds, and that has a 14, which gives us the 2 hits we need in Echo. So Echo will get, and here we use a marker. So we have a marker here, which is similar to the ground. Come on. There we go, kind of. So this 2 will go on our map board here, and I'll show you in a second, next to Echo to show that it's going to take 2 off of the off of their strength when we resolve everything for ground combat. So this is a success. This guy's gone. These guys go back to the basing box, and we resolve our other mission. So again, we're going to pull here. We have a 9. We drew a 2. So that air is successful. Now we'll do our ground attack, which is a 10. Drew a 1. So that is also successful. So I avoided any 10s. There are 6 10s in the deck, and I have managed to avoid all of them so far. That will not last. So we have 8. The doubled is 16. It's 3 hits. So Raid 1 to Bravo does 3 hits. So we put our counter on here that says 3. And we move on to the next phase, which is the ground combat phase. So I'm going to switch back to the other map so that you guys can see what that looks like. Okay, so we'll start up here with Alpha. Now, we didn't do any missions in Alpha. Now, these are basically strength or cohesion is what the rule book calls it. So they have 4 cohesion points, and the NATO forces have 2 here in Hamburg. So basically, one side of this goes 1 to 4, the other side goes 5 to 8. You can't go higher than 8. If you go lower than 1, you're dead. So And you do go up through reinforcements, which will come in a bit. Let me fix this. That's move that guy up a little bit. All right. So what we do is we draw a card. We take the attack value on the card, add it to the number for NATO, and then we would also add any close air support. So we'll do that down here when we get to Bravo. And if that number is higher or lower than the Warsaw Pact number, that will determine what happens. So we pull a card here, and we have attack resolve 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4, and the Warsaw Pact also has a 4. So since they're equal, that fails. Failure in this game on the ground combat means your guy's dead. So the NATO force is destroyed, and the Warsaw Pact captures Hamburg. They get 2 victory points right away. I know that's off camera, but I'll show you the whole board here as soon as we're done resolving. So now we move on to Bravo. And in Bravo, we have a 3, a +3, and a 2 for the defender in Hanover. Warsaw Pact is 4. We flip a card. 1. So not good card numbers here. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6. It's higher. So since it's higher, the defense is successful, and you reduce their strength by 1, so that becomes a 3. So that becomes a 3. We can pull this off. We move on to Charlie, where it's 5-2 in Fulda. So again, we pull a card. The attack resolve is a 4, which is lower. 2 plus 2 is 2 plus 2, because it was a 2, is a 4. So this guy's gone, and our 5 moves up. And we go to Delta, same thing. The defense there's a 1, so this probably isn't going to go well. Attack resolve is a 4, which would tie it, but a tie goes to the attacker. So again, the Reds are moving. Now we come to Echo, where we have a 1 in Regensburg, +2 for close air support, so that's a 3. The Warsaw Pact also is a 3. Ground attack resolves a 2, so that means NATO wins. They go down to a 2, and they hold. And now Foxtrot, and I realized I just did all that off camera, so I'm sorry about that. Let me adjust my shot here, and we'll pick up. Okay, so apologies for that. So here in Echo, they were a 3. It was a 1. We had a 2 for close air support, so it was 3-3. With the 2 plus 2 for the attack resolve, they lose a step and don't gain anything. If you double it, they lose 2 steps. We're also going to have a retreat here, so they're actually going to go down to a 1. And in Bravo, they also will have a retreat and will have to go down, lose another step as well. Once I do my primary mission result segment, which I should have done before ground combat, so I'm just going to do that right now. So this is going to be a 1. There in Echo, I get a total of 5 RPs. So I move that on the other side where you can't see it. And in Bravo, the Warsaw Pact also goes down to a 1. This is temporary because they are going to get reinforcements. And I'll show you that here next, because reinforcement phase comes after ground combat. So now we have 3 attacking 2 in Linz. So we get a 2, so that's a 4, makes a 4, so the NATO defense is successful in the south. So we did a little bit better in the south. They made some hay in the center at Fulda, came through the gap there, and they also picked up some territory, and sorry I was out of focus, picked up some territory in the north by taking Hamburg. Fulda did not give them any victory points, so they will get 3 if they get to Frankfurt. So we need to kind of push them back. So that'll be a focus of our next turn here. Okay, so as you can see, this is the whole board. They've got 2 victory points. I'm all cleared off. All my units are back in basing. I got my 5 victory points here for completing my objective. So these 2 objective cards will go in the discard pile. And now we do reinforcement. So the way reinforcement works is there are cards up here. They're off shot, but Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. There are 6 cards up here. So we'll pull the Alpha card and flip it. And there's a Warsaw Pact reinforce on here. So they get 3. So that 4 in Hamburg becomes a 7. So this can get pretty ugly pretty fast here. Bravo gets a 3 as well, and they're in the outskirts of Hanover, so that 1 becomes a 4. Charlie gets a 3. So Charlie goes from a 5 to an 8. And Delta has a 3. A lot of 3s. Delta goes from a 1 to a... Oh, that's Echo, sorry. Delta goes from a 5 to an 8 as well. Echo is a 3, which goes to a 4. And Foxtrot, which is also currently a 2, gets a 3, so they go to 5. So I think every single one of those was a 3, interestingly enough. Okay, so now that you've done all of their guys, let me move this back. They have 2 victory points currently. We pull another card for the NATO reinforcement, and they get 1. At least the Warsaw Pact didn't pull this 5. So they get a 1. So you get to choose where you want to put that. Now we have a 1 in Regensburg, so I might want to do something about that. But I think I'm going to use it up here in Bremen because that's a 2 victory point spot right there. And Hanover's only a 2 as well, but they're only a 4 here. Again, this is tough. They're gonna be threatening Frankfurt there in the center pretty soon. So once you've done the reinforcement phase, you do the event phase. So we draw another card, and here would be the event, and it has no effect. Okay, we're down to the last phase of the turn, which is the resource point phase. And so the resource point phase, you get points for every Warsaw Pact force in its start box. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we get 3 additional victory points. So that moves us to, we had 5, so that moves us to 8. Then we get major city still held by NATO. We have 2 of those, I believe. No, 1. We have Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Munich, and I believe that's it. Oh, and Bonn. So 4 for that as well would give us actually 12. So we have 12, and if we get the dead track, which is off shot, I know, as is the RP track, well, it kind of isn't. It's like right at the bottom. But the dead track and the OCA track, if they get to the far right most, they would also give us an additional resource point. So we have 12, which we can now spend to rebuild eliminated units, buy precision-guided munitions, etc. So since I have 12 and the PGMs cost 3 each, I'm going to buy the 3 back that I just expended in that turn, and that will cost me 9. And my 12 becomes a 3. And that wraps up the first turn. So, actually, there's a turn end phase. I'm sorry. So, return all raid markers to their areas. I did that already. All full strength air units. I already moved those back. The OEW air units. We didn't get that. That starts in turn 2. I'll talk about that in the next video. Dead and OCA recovery step. Draw a card for each of these tracks. Okay, so we draw a card. If the air intercept rating is an even number, it gets moved to the left. So you can lose some of your progress. So that's an odd number for the dead track, and I will try the OCA track. That is an even number. So the OCA track goes back to the left by 1. So that's at a 1 now. Well, it was at a 1, but now it's at the... We had gained 2, so we've now only gained 1. So that's kind of the, the Warsaw Pact, reinforcing, repairing, etc., etc. Okay, nuclear escalation step. If the Warsaw Pact victory point total is 20 or more, you can draw a resolution card if the card number is greater than or less than the number of Warsaw Pact victory points. Your failure as air commander have left your superiors no choice but to use nuclear weapons, ending the game and the world in your defeat. Boo. Luckily, we did not get that. And the Warsaw Pact victory step, generally they're gained and lost immediately. But when a FIBA box with a victory point total falls or is retaken during this step of turn 1 to 6, the Warsaw Pact scores an additional victory point for each Warsaw Pact force that is at the end of its thrust line. Nobody's at the end of their thrust line. Thank you. It is only turn 1. So, okay, that is going to do it for this video. One turn. I don't want to go too long. We can do future. I'll do another video with some more turns, hopefully, where I can move a little bit more quickly. Won't have to explain everything. Hopefully, we can just talk about what's going on, and you can see the game played a little bit more. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you, as always, for watching. My name is Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. And until next time, happy gaming.